I'm Janice Edwards. Coming up on Signature Silicon Valley, from AKI, Asian Americans for Community Involvement, Dr. Jorge Wong joins us to talk about the multilingual DUI program that helps people drive responsibly and safely, so important during this holiday season. Then Reverend Dr. Joseph Bryant Jr. has been called one of the most transformational leaders of our 21st century. He is the co-director of the Silicon Valley Diversity Project with Rainbow Push and senior pastor and president of Calvary Hill Community Church. Queen Elf Jennifer Cullenbine of the Family Giving Tree has issued an Executive Elf Challenge. We'll find out about that, as well as how you can support the Family Giving Tree during this holiday season. And we'll be on location for the tree lighting at Santana Row with Vernon Davis, plus highlights of other great events. That's all coming up next on Signature Silicon Valley. Join us. Welcome to Signature Silicon Valley. I'm Janice Edwards, and thank you so much for joining us. This is the season for eating, drinking, and making merry. But when it comes to drinking responsibly, some people have a hard time with that. So today we're giving information that we hope will make a life-altering difference for many. Dr. Jorge Wong from Asian Americans for Community Involvement is here to talk about a very special program that they have. Doctor, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Janice, for having me.
You have such impressive credentials. You are the president-elect of the California Psychological Association. Congratulations.
Thank you very
much.
Nice
to have the president in the house. And you're fluent in Spanish, Cantonese, and Taishanese?
Yes, which is a dialect of Cantonese.
Cantonese as well. And you have many multilingual programs at AKI. So thank you again for joining us. And
thank you again.
When it comes to the DUI program, can you explain a little bit about how people become involved and how you help them?
Like you said, many people are very festive during this time of the year, and they drink a little bit too much sometimes. There's nothing wrong with drinking and driving, but just don't drive after you drink. Oftentimes people get in trouble, it's dangerous. And one of the programs that we have is that we teach individuals who actually have been arrested for DUI, what are the consequences of drinking and driving. There's multiple programs. There's 4 different programs for first-time offenders, and there's one, of course, for multiple offenders. And you'll be surprised how often people do come back time after time, because for some reason they just keep doing it. It seems to be a pattern people forget, and it's very easy because as you drink, people always feel that they can control the drinking, their behavior, and sometimes once they go driving, oftentimes they actually don't make good judgments, and oftentimes it's quite dangerous.
Right, and the chemical dependency is what keeps people hooked when they think, oh, I'm fine, or I can just handle it just this once, but it triggers something.
Correct.
And then they're off to the races, unfortunately. I think that a lot of people can't imagine ever experiencing that in terms of getting a DUI, even though they might drink at a party. Can you talk a little bit about the consequences? Because the hope is that someone watching will really think very soberly about their choices and get a designated driver who's not going to drink at parties or stay home if they think they can't handle it.
You hit the nail on the head quite well. Having somebody who's a designated driver who actually does not drink and make sure that all their friends and partners are safe while they're going home is a very good idea. Sometimes, of course, people get really into the holidays, into the whole situation, and they forget. Sometimes the person who is least affected by, say, alcohol seems to be the one who drives oftentimes. Unfortunately, once you drive, a lot of your visual cues, how you execute decision making slows down. So it's quite dangerous when you're moving on in traffic, whether there's a car that stops in front of you, or let's say you're making a wide turn, you may not really judge it really well. So oftentimes people get into accidents, sometimes they're swerving quite a bit. It really puts a lot of other individuals at risk on the road.
What are some of the things that people have shared with you, those who have remorse about having driven under the influence and then being arrested and being, I think, ordered probably at times to participate in your program?
Oftentimes, there's a few who actually come to the first offenders program and they don't come back. They actually learn the lessons. Others who keep coming back, they keep forgetting that they actually get sentenced to a program and have to pay for services and learning about some of the consequences of drinking and driving. Other people oftentimes may crash. In the worst case scenario, you don't want to kill anybody because it could be something that you have not thought about, and it really affects individuals in the long run. So those are some of the worst consequences that we may have heard in the program.
Yes, I can imagine for you having the skills that you do as a doctor and a psychologist, when you see people grappling with addictions, it must be personally very challenging. You also are on the board of the California Gambling Association. And tell me about that, because that's another addiction that really hooks a lot of people, and especially during these times when we're supposed to be feeling good about things.
Right. Gambling is an addictive behavior. I happen to be on the advisory board for the California Office of Problem Gambling. And oftentimes, like any group during the festivities, the gamble is fun. For some culture, it is actually part of their celebration. It's just that sometimes people do it too much. Most of us do gamble responsibly, and a few actually have a problem. Once we have a problem, sometimes we lose a lot of money. We don't think about it. It takes a toll over the long run. You might lose a family member, spouses, children, and you lose a lot of property also. So by the time they actually admit it, it's quite late.
Right, so it's really important to have those warnings. One of the things that I admire about Aki is the multiple programs that you have, and typically within a number of communities asking for help, whether it's for mental health services or educational problems or other, tends to hold a stigma. How do you help people who come to you at Asian Americans for Community Involvement get over that?
That is a great question, and stigma is something that we deal with every day, not only within the Asian communities, but also all other communities in the area. We try to go out and educate individuals that these are challenges or problems that can be solved. It's part of the healthcare system, and we can actually provide professional services to address these issues. So in the mental health area, we actually develop a DVD that we have used to educate Asian Americans about some of the consequences of actually getting services and how one improves. In regards to, say, DUI or problem gambling, we've also gone out to not only develop newspapers, also other materials like public service announcements to educate them about pros and cons of using or whatever addiction that they're at and where to actually seek services.
Yes, well, I thank you so much for the great services that you provide for our community. I hope that you enjoy the holidays, and thank you again for joining us.
Have a great holiday season.
You too. If you'd like to contact Aki, the details are right here on our screen. We are location for the tree lighting at Santana Row with Vernon Davis, plus highlights of other great events. I'm Janice Edwards on location at Santana Row for the tree lighting ceremony featuring 49er Vernon Davis. There have been wonderful acts this evening. It's the most wonderful time of the year. You can feel the spirit of the holidays in the air, and everyone's enjoying it.
Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. Even though the sound of it is something quite atrocious, if you say it loud enough, you'll always sound precocious. Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious.
Alhamdulillah. And what has been the most fun so far tonight?
Watching all the performances has been really fun.
And Aiden, what is it you have here? Can you turn it on for us?
What is it?
A light.
It's a very cool lightsaber. It's exciting for you.
It's exciting because we have it's a time to just promote things that are special. You know, Christmas, foundations, and just come together and just have a wonderful time.
Yeah. Last time I saw you, you were opening the gallery here. How's that doing now?
Oh, it's doing really well. It's for a good cause, Vernon Davis Foundation for the Arts. We're all about promoting art education amongst our youth here in the Bay Area, so it's always a good thing.
Do you have any special holiday memories that you think of this time of year, like a favorite Christmas or something?
You know what? All I can think about is just being home with my grandmother, eating cookies, drinking milk, and just enjoying the family.
I know she was such an inspiration for you.
Oh, she was a true inspiration.
Well, I know you've got to get on stage. Good to talk with you. Happy holidays. Merry Christmas.
Okay, you too. Thank you.
All right.
All right.
Now, Sourdough Sam, let's rile these people up. Here we go, and counting down. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Let it go. Let it go, let it go. Turn away, slam the door. And here I stand, and here I'll stay. Let it go, let it go.
For more information about anything you've seen, details are on our screen. We are talking with fashion maven extraordinaire, blogger, and stylist Kiki Rocha, who is here for Hispanic Heritage Month at Macy's, celebrating a very special event tonight. So, bienvenido, nice to see you. What does it mean for you to be here today? Why is this important to you?
It has been a very special month touring all around the U.S. with Macy's and two super talented girls, Jasmine Villegas and Julia Sariñana. It's been amazing. We have been to different cities and we have really met our crowd, the people that inspire us to do what we do, our followers, our readers, and they're all Hispanic women of every age, yes. I mean, young and a little bit older like myself, but they all come to see us and to share and to celebrate the fact that we're all Hispanics, that we have made our future in this country and that we have so much more to do and to share. So it's been an amazing experience.
We are talking with the woman behind Sincerely Jules, and it's a pleasure to meet her. And tell me about the idea. How did you start the blog? How did that begin?
It started back in 2009 while I was attending school, and I was going through a time during school where I felt super creatively drained, and so I kind of needed like a different outlet to express myself, and so that's how the blog came about.
Were you surprised at the response that you got with it?
I was surprised that I've came this far because I didn't know that I could make it into a career, and so initially it was just kind of to express myself, have fun with it, and then it evolved into this. So I mean, it's been such a joyful ride for sure.
I'm Janice Edwards. We're on location at Ann and Mark's fabulous art party, talking with Ann, the creator and founder. Congratulations on another incredible year.
It's not yet. It's not over yet. So let's see. I mean, once the lights go on, I mean, actually the lights are starting to dim right now. So there's going to be some amazing light. Our goal was to transform the fairgrounds, and I think that we've done that, but I can't see because when I came in, it was still light. But all my friends, all my family's here, like all these people that I wanted to see, I'm really excited.
Yeah. Well, that's why I said congratulations, just to plan this, an exhibition for all these days, the gala tonight, it's amazing. Evan Holm is one of the artists performing at Ann and Mark's fabulous art party, and he has an unusual way of creating art, with records underwater. Tell me about the concept.
Indeed, yeah. This piece of mine I started about 3 years ago, and I figured out a way to put a turntable underneath a pool of ink. And through a lot of engineering and tinkering, I got it to work, and now I perform with it.
I'm Janice Edwards, and we are on location at Ann and Mark's fabulous art party. David Middlebrook designed the sculpture right behind us. David, what does it mean for you to be involved with this particular festival?
Well, I'll tell you what it means. It means we have people in this community who really support the arts, who give of themselves, give their time, their effort, their energy, and their creative skills to bring this wonderful community together in a celebration of culture, art, design, and music, theater. It's about the most philanthropic, beautiful thing that's ever happened to South Bay.
Yes. Lillian, you directed all of this. How did it come together?
Well, we got our inspiration from Mark and Ann. It started out in their house, and they really want the space to be intimate, and they mentioned something about being lost in art. So that was a jumping off point. So
as an artist, what do you find most challenging about doing work in Silicon Valley, if anything?
I'm still trying to really connect and find the kind of core community. And I think this is the kind of thing that really helps with that, because it kind of lets everybody see the lay of the land, see who's around, and find who they connect with. So I think it's just forging that connection and always trying to make the city of San Jose be more of an art destination.
Ann and Mark's Art Party is considered the event of the year. 5 days of exhibitions, but tonight is the gala, and it is indeed a spectacular event. Reverend Dr. Joseph Bryant Jr. has been with us to talk about the diversity initiatives in Silicon Valley, but in addition to his work there and with Rainbow Push and with Calvary Community Church, he is also the advisor and coach, life coach for the Pro Athlete Business Group. So we wanted to talk a little bit about that today because it's fascinating to think about athletes making that transition. And thank you for being with us again. We continued the conversation from a previous show.
Thank you so much.
Yes, glad to have you stay with us, I should say. Now, when we talk about athletes these days, a lot of times you're seeing the bad news about many disturbing situations. But for athletes who have a good career and then are trying to make a transition, there's so many different life challenges. How do you work with them to help them figure out what do you do next?
That's a great question. If you can imagine an individual who from the time they were 6 or 7 years old, all they knew was bouncing a ball, throwing a ball, hitting a ball. Throughout high school, they were adored by their peers as well as those that were interested in their gifts and skills. They'd go away to college, and then they'd be, again, such a favorite among their college peers, and all of the attention that they get. They go into the pros, have this wonderful, successful career, thousands of people cheering their name, and every week, every day, it's just more and more of the same, more and more basketball or more football. And then all of a sudden, after 22 years of that, at the age of 30, it stops. There's an abrupt end to what has been the norm for your life. And so it's really a huge transition, and so many athletes have not prepared for the transition, have not prepared mentally, emotionally, financially, and a lot of times do not even have an idea what to do next. If you're 32, 33 years old, you have so much more life to live, and to know that you don't know exactly what you're going to do with that life, it can be very, very difficult, very challenging, and very frightening, to be honest with you. And so it's an honor for me to be invited into those conversations and those spaces, to have the one-on-one sometimes with the athletes, sometimes with their families, and we talk about their choices and their options and what do you want to do with the rest of your life. And it's really a meaningful place for me to serve and to be a support to them.
Right, and I can imagine that challenge of really being honest with yourself, because when you have had that kind of adulation too, just adjusting to a life where people maybe don't recognize you sometimes.
Right. Certainly.
It's more than ego, it's about purpose and vision and destiny. So when you're having those conversations, how do you help them start to tune in to those truths?
Great question, and you're right about the adjustment, and the ego side is one part of it, but there are also some logistical realities that a lot of times people don't think about. For all of their playing careers, they don't have to worry about anything. They don't have to make plane reservations. They don't have to worry about schedules. They don't have, things that we do on a regular basis. We kind of map out our own schedules, or we want to travel somewhere, we know what we need to do. A lot of them never made a hotel reservation. So so there are things that we take for granted that they never had to do because they're already served by the team. And so a lot of individuals, when you talk about moving into that purpose, I've sat down with athletes and we've talked about making some type of resume and talking about just writing out their goals and everything that you would normally do in college or somewhere along the line in preparation for your career. They're doing it now after a successful career in athletics. And so it's a huge shift, a huge transition. And I applaud those athletes that have some sense of where they want to go, because they start working on it before they retire. They start investing, they start getting involved in certain community projects or purpose-driven ideals in their community around health and different kinds of things. But so many of them, and that's where the Pro Athlete Business Group is so helpful, because the Pro Athlete Business Group specifically brings programs as well as companies, corporations to the table and says, okay, you can have an opportunity as an athlete to be a small business owner, or to invest in this particular company, to be a spokesman for this particular company, and the Pro Athlete Business Group provides that, and then I'm able to follow up and make sure the athletes start moving in a good direction.
Oh, that's wonderful. I know that must be very personally rewarding for you also, because you're a life coach in so many arenas. At church, you're a spiritual life coach, and the spirit comes into that as
Definitely.
well. When you look at what you see in the pros and the attitudes now? I mean, like I mentioned, they're the headlines, and we don't have to go to a specific case, but we have everything, domestic violence, child abuse, and all of those. Do you see that there's some core belief about athletes that seems to drive that, or do you look at it as just these are just individuals making difficult and sometimes bad choices?
When I first started working with athletes about 15 years ago, what I discovered, and it really was just so huge for me, was that these are individuals who are human beings that happen to be in the limelight and the spotlight, but they hurt like everyone else. They make mistakes like everyone else. And when they don't have the benefit of certain life lessons because certain parts of their lives are on a particular track. All they know is, 2-a-days in training and weight room and playbook studying. And so a lot of times things aren't taught, things aren't understood. And then the culture really breeds so much around the sport that having an opportunity to develop internally as an individual doesn't always happen. And so what I find is a lot of time they're 28, 29-year-old men who are still functioning in 17-year-old mindsets. So they haven't even developed the understanding of where your boundaries need to be, where the margins need to be in your life. And at that point, having that long of a time in a career path that is so driven around what you do as an athlete, your image around that, the money that you make, and all of a sudden now you've taken into account that you're a human being that has to learn how to function among other human beings, it is very challenging. I'm just grateful for those that are open to those conversations and to learn. And I want to work more with the NFL and the NBA and Major League Baseball to make sure that these life lessons are taught. Many times they get a 1-day, 4-hour seminar as rookies, but not much more. And I think it needs to be an ongoing part of the curriculum. And those teams that provide that kind of service are the teams that see fewer incidents because they realize how important it is to help them as people.
Wow. Great words of wisdom. Thank you so
Thank
much,
you
Reverend
so
Dr.
much.
Joseph Bryan Jr. for joining us.
It is such an honor. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
All right.
If you'd like to get in contact, details are there on our screen. I don't have many excuses to play with toys throughout the year, but at least for one time a year, it's all for a good cause because Queen Elf, Jennifer Cullenbine of the Family Giving Tree, has joined us again, and we're excited to have you here because it's the time of year where you're giving back to others, especially for kids in need.
Yes,
so
definitely.
Good to see you.
Thank
you
you
for being with us.
Thank you.
And I know that we always like to go back a little bit to the history because you're creator, CEO of the Family Giving Tree. This started as a college project for you.
It did start as a college project 24 years ago.
Wow.
And yeah, it started basically because I had grown up in need myself and had watched strangers come and help our family, and I was really touched by that experience. Why would these people who've never met us, who I can't even thank, come and give us their money and their time? And it really made a big difference to me when I was 7. And so, yeah.
So from there, the Family Giving Tree organizes through these cards here, and you can hold up one we can see, that companies can decorate their tree with the cards, and then employees take the cards, buy the gifts, bring them back, and then deliver them to you.
I hope so,
yes. And so then you're able to give them to families in need. And so many of them, one of the requests this year is for a digital camera. And you said this is something that's really important.
That's a tough wish. Most people look at that card and say, well, how needy is this child who really wants a digital camera? It sounds expensive to them. But the truth of the matter is that these are kids coming from families, they don't even have pictures. So a digital camera is like the best gift you could possibly ever give one of these families. And they don't have school pictures, they can't afford pictures with Santa. So that's one of my favorite wishes.
Yes, that's a wonderful one. And what are some of the others that people ask for?
We have lots of kids asking for clothes, and if we do, we have their size or their color request. You know, if they want purple jeans or blue jeans or whatnot.
Sandra wants some black moccasins.
Black
or
moccasins.
Anything with SF Giants.
Yes,
I can
lots of
understand
Giants
that.
and 49ers requests. A couple
Yes.
Raiders requests here too.
Okay.
My this year the biggest request, increase in requests, was for Legos.
Really?
Which was really neat because Legos are a great toy. You never age out of them,
Yes,
and they're
so
creative.
much fun.
And this year it's the girls that are asking for them.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Yes.
any construction toys for girls have gone way up.
Oh, that's great. That's a good sign in
Yeah.
many ways. And you've expanded as well, too. You've expanded from the Bay Area to several different locations.
Well, we're in Austin, Texas right now, which is great.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And the truth is that I can make these wish cards for children anywhere. The trick is to find a place to send them.
Yes.
Find a company that will let me send them. We send them here to places like Comerica Bank and Wells Fargo, and then their customers or their employees will take the cards. But it's really the trick of finding a place to send the cards.
Yes, and you have an Executive Elf Challenge on
We
December
do.
19th. What's that
We
all
do.
about?
Well, we try to dress the executives up and embarrass them as best we can. Last year we dressed them up like Santa, and they had little cotton balls on their faces. It was pretty funny. And then we have them wrapping gifts, and we have them sorting toys, just like the 7,000 volunteers who really do the work at Santa's Workshop. And so the executives participate in that, and then we have a little contest, and the winner gets even more embarrassed. It's just fun. It's for a good
lot
cause.
Of fun, exactly. And I know when companies do spend the day there, it really reminds you of what's most important during the season,
Yeah.
giving back in that way. And you have a warehouse, but every year that's a challenge. So on your wish list
My wish
for
list.
the future.
Yeah, I hope someday someone just gives us a building. We need 100,000 square feet every year for about 2 months, and it's a lot to ask, and there aren't that many spaces in the Bay Area anymore that are empty, that have that kind of space. And we could continue growing and helping more children if we had more space.
Yes.
So.
And speaking of children, your own children have really learned a lot through
Yes.
this process.
Yes, I have a 14-year-old and a 13-year-old who is the princess elf.
Oh, wow.
So I'm the queen elf, she's a princess elf, and she wears a little miniature costume like I do and runs around the warehouse helping with volunteer work, and it's pretty awesome. It's become a real huge family event.
Yes, because one of the things that you wanted to impart was how important it is to not just take for granted anything that you have.
Right. Giving a gift to a child is important to that child. I can't even stress how important, but the truth is, I think those of us who are giving are actually getting more out of the experience, and those of us who take our children with us and share that process with them, whether it's volunteering at the warehouse or shopping at Target for a Barbie, you can say, here's Anna and she's 7 and she wants a Barbie. She doesn't have any Barbies at home. Which Barbie should we choose for her? And that's very powerful.
Yes, it is. We have a Barbie here, as a matter of fact,
Yep.
too. And I remember the story of the little boy who wanted pillows because the whole family was sleeping on the floor.
Yes.
And just the pillows made a difference. So there are just so many incredible ways to focus upon giving and giving back in a powerful way. And you do it beautifully. Your whole family is involved.
Thank you.
And we're thankful for what you do to put your signature on the Valley, because it does make a big difference.
Thanks a lot.
Yes, well, thank you. Good to see you again. And if you'd like to contact the Family Giving Tree, the details about the Executive Elf Challenge and the general number are on our screen. As we wind up another year, we want to thank you so much for your support throughout the year. And I also want to thank our incredible crew and staff for all that they've done. We were finalists for a WAVE Award this year, and it's always wonderful to receive any type of recognition. I also want to say that it's very special to have what we have, an opportunity to share with each other, and want to encourage you during this time of year to really reach out to your loved ones and enjoy. I hope that your wishes will be fulfilled, your professional visions will be successful, and that you will continue to put your incredible signature on our valley and on our world. I'm Janice Edwards, and thank you again for joining.